Good afternoon. Welcome to Provincetown Theater's third community conversation. I'm David Wilson. I'm the president of the board of directors, and I'll be your moderator today. Our theme today is staying calm, or staying centered, however you want to describe staying focused in this time of isolation and anxiety. We have four panelists that I'd like to introduce at this point. Alphabetical order. Chase Heffernan, yoga instructor at the Yoga P-Town. Tamara Israel, poet, actor, artist, up and down the Cape, and we're proud that she was part of our Laramie project. Amy Raff, director of the Provincetown Public Library, and Frank Rosello, baker and owner of Relish. Any comments from our panelists before we roll?
Happy to be here.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, T. Oh, I thought you said something.
Oh, nope.
I'd like to start with Amy, since you're the public figure on this panel, representing the public library. I've talked to a few folks over the last few weeks, and the library was a place that people came to gather. Certainly computer needs, printing, communications with unemployment, Medicare, Medicaid, just an opportunity again to gather with friends. So I guess my question to you, Amy, is how have you and the library looked for alternatives for the community that used to come and visit with you every day?
Yeah. One thing that we're struggling with is that the library is in the business of sharing. You know, we share resources, we share experiences with our programming, and we share space. And I think in Provincetown, the library is so linked to the building and what the building does to people when they come in it, and how majestic it is, and how the views are amazing. So it's been really hard to not be able to offer that space to hold people and serve our community during such a crazy, unsettling time. So for now, we've been switching to kind of online resources. We have, downloadable ebooks and audiobooks. We have streaming movie service. We're starting our virtual programming. We have a book discussion group, that kind of thing. So we've transitioned into that. But the part that's missing is the people part, and librarians are actually people that want to serve and help people. We're also book people, but it's really about the community. So we're looking at a multi-phased, reopening plan kind of thing, which, keeps safety at the forefront, health and safety of our staff and our patrons and our visitors. The other thing is that we're a tourist attraction also in the summer, and a public bathroom. So we have on average 650 people that come through our doors, during the season to see the ship, to do library stuff, to use the bathroom, that kind of thing. So we're feeling that loss right now. And the thing that I keep saying to people is that the library, people tell me I miss the library so much, and the library misses you right back. And we're going to be there when we get on the other side of this pandemic mountain, I've been calling it, whenever that is. But to answer your question, we've switched a lot of things over to electronic, and we're available to answer people's questions by phone anytime the library's open, and help people get set up with that.
Great, Amy. Thanks very much. Frank, you're in the creation of food business. So I want to ask you a little bit about this myth that we all go to comfort food when we get stressed out. So help me figure out, what do we do about that?
Well, I think that's true. I think, what's familiar is comforting. And also people now have a lot of time in their hands. So I've seen a lot of friends like showing off sourdough breads and, doing these projects that they would normally not do. The store itself is not open yet. It'll be opening in a couple of weeks. So it'll be interesting to see, the clientele and what they're looking for. You know, we're going to have a short menu, staffing wise. So we're going to have to feel it out as we go as well. And just as Amy said, you know, it's community. You know, in the summer, we have lots of people there coming through, going to the beach, and there's a real energy to that. And so we will see, you know, what it is and how it plays out. And you know, we will be there to indulge people with their, you know, sweets if they want them, but we'll also have some healthy options for people. I myself have overindulged during this time, and a scale has made an appearance in our house now. So, you know, and that's where we are with that at the moment.
Great, thanks, Frank. Tomorrow, I want you to talk a little bit about, you're a creator of artistry, poetry, you do a lot of writing, you do acting. How are those skills helping you and or the people that pay attention to you cope with this isolation and anxiety?
Just being artistic and creative has really helped me pull myself out of depression. You know, when isolation started, I'm not an isolation kind of person. Mm-hmm. I like to be busy. I like to go and do a bunch of things. So when it first started, it was just really hard for me to create. You know, I just couldn't do it. So I started to go to therapy online, and little by little, I started to write things here and there, and then creating Coffee with Tea, which is the Facebook series I do once a week. It's a deadline that I have to make. You know, what helps me stay creative is deadlines and knowing that I have something to look forward to. And schedules have really been very helpful. And, you know, if you feel it, just write it down.
Mm-hmm. It's helpful for, I think, all of us, especially the audience that's looking for some takeaways.
Yeah.
Schedules, deadlines, structure, it sounds like.
Yes.
Chase, I want to ask you a little bit about yoga and how you might explain how yoga helps us de-stress, and talk a little bit about how that has worked for you, and obviously for not so much the studio now because you're closed, but in general, talk to me about yoga and distressing.
Yeah, yoga is pretty broad, and I teach yoga asana, which is the poses mostly, and I've been focusing a lot on breath work. Yoga just in general, I mean, if we find ourselves sitting a lot, if we find ourselves not only physically sitting a lot, but like sitting with the same thoughts over and over, I think tends to like starts to brace the body, and you start to hold in different ways. And so when you start to move the body, you start to move that energy that's stagnant in different areas of your body around. And so for me, I'll make this more, if I think I get a lot, like people are like, I'm too inflexible, or I've never done yoga before, I'm not a yogi. And I always giggle at that, because it's like, we do yoga to become more flexible. So, but when I first started to practice, it was like 6 years ago. I had no like awareness of my body or anything like that. And so if there's anybody out there that's like, I want to do yoga, but I have no idea. For me, it's all about just like starting with a simple YouTube video search and finding a teacher that resonates with you. And if you find a silly teacher in the beginning, don't give up on the yoga, because there's a lot of teachers that are floating in the ether in the yoga world. So find the teacher that resonates with you, and then just start moving and make it exciting. And I think when you make it more exciting, and when you find the teacher that you like, it makes the learning fun. Then you get distracted, and you're not stressing yourself out about everything else that's going on in the world right now. Yeah.
And just one quick follow-up.
Yeah.
Since the studio's closed, how do we become yogis at home? Talk to us about.
Yeah. So I immediately I don't know. I never wanted to be a virtual teacher, like ever. And then right when this happened, I had so many people from Iowa been telling me to record something, and I was like, no. And then this happened. I was like, okay, well, I have people here in Provincetown, I have people in the Midwest, and I was like, why not? And I did a live streaming video which a lot of people showed up to. And then slowly that just started to build. So I teach in a private Facebook group called Tinder Warrior Club, where I'm teaching 5 classes a week, and I'm doing a challenge right now, giving away a few yoga mats to people who take a certain amount of classes per week. So that's one way. But there's so many resources out there and so many different online platforms that are super cheap that you get hundreds of yoga classes. I'm doing mine by donation based. Maybe we could share the link somewhere.
Yes.
After this, but that's a way to connect with me personally. But just in general, it's just finding like a website that has a variety of videos like Yoga Glow, and different platforms like that. Yeah.
Thanks, Chase. And going back to you, Amy, you were talking about similar online outreach to the community that you served. Can you talk a little bit about the help side of that? I mean, people used to come to the library because they needed help with their computer needs.
Right. Yeah, for a lot of people, the library is their access point for access to the internet. So that's a service that we are really struggling to replicate. For a while, we were putting out free books and DVDs on by the entrance and stuff, and we can't put a computer out on the front lawn and replicate that. So if people are struggling with that and need that, they should just call the library and talk to me, and we'll figure something out. We have a couple wireless hotspots that we circulate to people, but that's just the internet access. That's not the actual computer. But if people need help with that, they should just reach out. The other thing I wanted to mention is that on our website, provincetownlibrary.org, there's a link for, I think it's called Fun Things to Do at Home. And it's a list of online resources that has yoga classes, cooking classes, different zoos that have live webcams. And it's a really thoughtful list. Brittany curates the whole thing and checks the links and makes sure that it's worth it. So that's something to check out too, something to do.
Thanks, Amy. Frank, you wear another hat that some people know, others don't, and that's you. You're a writer, and I'll call you a playwright. You're a director. So what are you putting together over this period of time that you're going to introduce to us this summer?
Well, my partner Nathan Gutera and I actually have been working with Linda Fiorello on a horror feature about a pandemic. This was started way before this all happened. It happens in the past. So that's a little on hold, obviously. But we also were working on a little horror short that we wanted to film, probably 8 minutes. We obviously haven't been able to film it now, but we're hoping to be able to do that soon. So that's a little project there. I know for me also, the summer's hard to do those kinds of projects. So the off season, the winter is a good time for that. Not much of that's happening this go round. But I'm going to out myself as a nerd. I do role-playing games with friends, and we have been getting together on and off for since 1980. And they live in Hyannis, and now we're doing it virtually. We found a platform we can all call in, and so we're having these role-playing strategy games online. So we still find a way to connect. It's not the same as being in person and having dinner with them, but it's also a big creative outlet for me to make, these maps and these fantasies and these encounters for everyone, and, challenge my friends. So that's been something I've been doing a lot of personally. That's also very creative. And gardening.
And gardening. Thanks, Frank. I want to go back to you. I want to ask you about your TED Talk. Mm-hmm. That had to do with hugging.
Uh-huh.
I work with a guy by the name of David Drake, and I used to walk into the theater and he'd pick me up and swing me round and round and round, and I thought there was something big going on, but it was just an hello. So I don't actually know what's happened to him now that he can hug. So can you talk a little bit about your TED Talk and then how you're managing in this period of isolation?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, that guy is a wonderful hugger. You should keep him forever. That's how you hug. But I think we have to find something different. You know, I feel like a hug is a physical expression of love or caring about someone. So we need to find a different way for now to show our love for people without physically touching, which is really, really hard because a hug is so simple and fun. But in order for us to, one, stay alive and stay safe, we should really stay away from each other. On that note, I hate it. I cannot stand it. I love hugs. They make me so incredibly happy. So like when I see, I don't know, a friend in the store, you know, we run into each other, like we give each other air hugs. So that's what we do now. So we'll stand 6 feet apart and, you know, air hug each other. Like I can still do this, you know, I care about you, but it's been hard, man. I don't like it, but you know, maybe we can do air fives. You know, you can find something.
I like that. I like that question. I think for me, it's like I've been getting more anxious looking at other people being anxious. And it's sort of skittish. And I'm like, the biggest thing right now that I've been practicing is just like trying to like smile with my eyes or wave. It's like COVID's not going to be passed by waving or by showing like hellos or things like that. And I think that's one thing I've been practicing is trying to be like, okay, we're in this together, but we can still acknowledge each other's crossing.
Yeah, same when I'm walking on Commercial Street, you know, and you see people, and now the tendency is to just cross the street, even if you're wearing your mask. But I have been waving excitedly at people, and I really want to like draw a smiley face on my mask. They can see I'm smiling, you know. And it's this strange where we're all isolated and distant, but at the same time, it's like 85% chance every person I pass on the street is thinking the same thing. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, how long is this going to last? What are we going to do? Is there a future? You know, all those things. So there's like, I feel this connection with humanity that I don't normally do. But we're isolated at the same time, you know. It's interesting.
Yeah, there's probably a celebration going on because I know, T, when you talked about hugging, there are also people that don't like to hug.
Yes.
So there's the other side of this where people that don't like to hug are saying, this is great. I'm loving this.
Yeah.
No pressure.
It's okay to not like hugs, and it's sad, but I will respect your not huggingness. And I ask people, well, before the pandemic, I would always ask for a hug. I never just go in hot. That's not okay. So people don't like it.
I think like not being able to be touch or be around people and close as for me, I always find the silver linings is just a time to sort of reflect on the ways we have become up to now individually. And so it's just like watching different thoughts come up for myself or be with different ways that I don't know, default to. I think it's been interesting. And I think it's an opportunity to like, I don't know, go within, if you will.
Sure.
Yeah, that's kind of a general question I was going to ask along the way, which is what have you learned through this period of time and through that kind of introspection? What kinds of things are you learning about yourself, which I think is helpful for people in our audience to hear? Anyone?
Well, as a proclaimed introvert, you know, this is kind of like, in some ways, kind of our jam, you know, a lot of quiet alone time. You know, when you start thinking about when am I going to get to hug my mom again, then it gets a little goofy. But I think when I was thinking about this, about staying centered, that centered for me is about staying present, you know, staying as much in the moment as I can, because if I get out there, that's where it gets really scary and that's where the anxiety comes in. But if I can stay right here in my body, then things are much more manageable. And it's not like, oh, I'm centered, check that off the list. It's about like meeting the moment and just, letting it happen in a certain way and not having this image. I think when this first happened, everybody was like, I'm going to write the great American novel. I'm going to make that art piece. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to get arm muscles, all that stuff. And now this is life, right? So we have to I have to just learn how to roll with it and not have it be a good or bad moment, but just be in it as much as I can, even if it's hard. Which it is.
Yeah, part of that question is too, how are you controlling the environment around you so that you can manage it well? That's sort of another question in general.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was, I like to be busy. Before the pandemic hit, I had 3 jobs and I was on 2 committees and I was performing every week. Like, I love to be busy. But when it stopped, the hardest part for me was listening to that internal brain, the one that doesn't shut up, the one that says all the mean things, shutting that thing down for me was talking. I started therapy. I started to reach out to friends, just being open about what I'm feeling and, crushing that narrative about the people who go to therapy a week. Like, that's nonsense. Therapy for me has been so incredibly helpful. I would implore people, if you're having a hard time, please talk to somebody. I know it sounds so cliche, but you're not alone. There's always someone there to talk to you. And reaching out to my friends and family and starting therapy, finding a schedule. Like Frank said, I too, boy, oh boy, the fridge is too damn close. It's like right around the corner. That quarantine 15 is a real thing. So I started putting my workout schedule in my kitchen, and that's helped me with that. And just finding schedules and a way to take control back out of all of this madness. Finding a way for me to live. Yeah.
I think taking control in some way, whatever that is for people, is important. Having a project, you can just sit here and spin with all this time. So, that's why the gardening, because I'm on a town committee, a couple days a week, I'll go weed, or, and we're getting some plants coming in this week, so we'll be planting, and it just feels like something positive and additive, and it's a focus, and I think if you don't have some of that, you can just get into this sort of head that's just not great, isolated, mopey, or just anxious. So I think it is important to try to maintain some schedule for yourself.
Yeah.
I think I was talking to boyfriend, and hi JC, I know you're watching. And it was just like, I made a list of all the things that I want to do, and I'm Aries fire. I'll list it up, everything I want to achieve, read, study, and I finally realized, narrow it down, stick to a few things, and use this time to focus on that. And I practice a lot of yoga, but I don't do a lot of strength training, and so that's been my new thing. And it's all I have to do today is that. It's all I have to do today is that, and then you're good. And that's been, I think, helpful for me, is just really narrowing down on a few things that really are close to home, or close to my heart. Yeah.
Thanks, Jason. Did you have something, Amy?
Well, I think routine is really important. I think after 9 weeks, I'm finally getting into one. Definitely the things that everybody talks about exercise, about walking, I can't tell you how much walking gives to me, and being out in nature. It's so fortifying and nourishing. And we were talking before about food, and I was calling it the COVID-19, not 15. And then for a while I was talking about my COVID baby that I was growing. And And then I did a switch when we were talking about control, and because everything felt so out of control, I just went really micro and with the food that I'm eating and stuff like that, just because I know that it makes me feel better about being alive, and I need to be doing all of those things right now, to get through it, and then to be able to help other people, right? That's why we do self-care, right? Because it benefits.
Exactly. I think one of the questions I also had was, through this process, we're learning things about ourselves, we're learning things that we can do better. Who and what do we appreciate? As we stopped and the world stopped around us, who are we now thinking about? What are we now thinking about that's a greater appreciation that we might not have had before this all happened?
That's a good.
I think for me, I realized, being in the yoga community for like 5 years now, I always was so excited to see like random students and meet new people, and I give so much of my love and tenderness towards these random encounters. And now that I'm not able to connect with so many people, I realized how much love I was giving to random individuals, and not sending it towards my family, or not sending it to the relationships that are really close to me. So I think I've learned throughout this process of like, man, I really appreciate and love my family and my partner so much. And it's allowed me to be like, okay, what matters most, and where should you be sending your love more? And I think so, yeah, I just appreciate the people who call and check up, and the people who pick up at the end of the day when you're feeling lonely and need to talk.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's a divorce lawyer, and she is so busy. She can't, it's all, this sort of people isolating with each other, the distractions are gone. And she said, I've never been this busy in my life. There are people who just realize they don't like their partner. And it makes me like, Nathan and I have been, me, Nathan, and my dog now for, 2 months. And it makes you appreciate, some things you might take for granted sometimes. And also on a slightly different note, we are so lucky to be here. Imagine being in New York City having to do this, surrounded by millions of people, and you really can't just go outside for a walk the way we can. Mm-hmm. So we are fortunate that we have access to being able to walk in the seashore and still be isolated from people and just get some beautiful air and see some beautiful views. We're very lucky that way.
Amy, something to jump in with, or?
I'm just so grateful all the time for everything. For a while I kept saying that social distance was actually physical distance, and that physical distance was social solidarity. Mm-hmm. Now I'm thinking, in my case, physical distance is privilege. I get to live alone. I have windows. I can afford my rent. I have COVID-19 buddies. The list is endless, and saying all this on the days when you can actually get out of bed and function. This is a good day. The sun is shining. We're all together and we're doing something. But if I can start with gratitude and then compassion, mostly, for myself and others, then that's a good day.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Absolutely. Tamara, maybe you can talk a little bit about coffee with tea. What's that about?
Well, I started coffee with tea to deal with my depression and anxiety. I didn't even know I had anxiety. I was just like, oh, everyone's heart flutters like that for no reason. That's just a thing. It's fine. But I was talking to my brother one day. He's like, you need to be creative. Go make something. Go do a poetry series. And I was like, oh, I write poetry. I can do that. And in it, I just try to express how it's okay to not be okay, man. First of all, pandemic. That's nuts. That's so crazy. Like, it's okay to feel crazy sometimes, let that energy out. And coffee with tea was just a way for me to just let all of that depression, anxiety, and sometimes it's filled with love, sometimes it's not, whatever I'm feeling that day. But it's really been so incredibly helpful. And I hope you guys check it out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So is this a weekly series? Tell us how we find it.
It is. It's a weekly series. It goes up every Monday on my professional page. Now, let me just say, my professional page, before I understood how technology works, I'm not very technological, that word. The name of my page is so long. It's Tamora Israel, artist, poet, performance artist. And I was just like, that's so much, guys. That is so much. But that's where you find it. It's there every Monday, usually before 5 p.m. And this last one, I wrote a letter to my mom. So check it out and maybe send it to your mom. And if your mother's still with us, give her a call. Mothers love calls. All of us. We love them calls. Please call your mother. Call your mother.
Great. Thanks. Chase, everybody's been sharing websites, and you mentioned it earlier, so please jump in and take it from there.
I like what you said about, like, you show up whether it's like a fun session for the coffee or tea or whether it's like a moody one. And I think that's how I've kind of been like leading my group too, is just showing up how you show up. And I think people really appreciate when you show up and you're like, meh, but we're going to do this. Yep. We're here together. But I my group, it's just on Facebook. It's called Tinder Warrior Club. It's a private group. I started it right after this, so I'm currently like building the website. So yeah, I don't know if there's all different types of classes. There's one called Spicy Vinyasa where it's like kick your booty. It's booty and not the other word, family. And then there's other ones that are slow, and there's more workshop-y based ones. So a little bit of everything for people looking for different levels. So it's just fun. I like to consider myself like a down-to-earth teacher, and it's just like like I said, you show up how you show up, and whether you're full of energy that day or whether you're just going to lay there and I can't see you and you just lay there and breathe with us. That is A-okay too, because some days that's what you need.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It all starts with just like showing up. I wrote this on a Post-it the other day. Sometimes I have things come to me and it says, do I trust myself to change? Like, do I trust myself to shake out of patterns or habits? In those moments of resistance when we're like in our soul, that's like, you need to be doing this. And then the body is like, no. And it's just like getting past that first no in the mind and being like, I trust myself that I can do this. I will do this. That was another thing between saying I will and not I want. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to do this. No, I will do this. And that has been a big thing for me. There's just so many different things popping up.
Well, that kind of takes us to what might be the last segment, and that is, when this is over, what are you thinking you might do differently? What experience might you take from where you are now and actually use that experience when this is over? And I know, Amy, you mentioned books and downloading books, and if you have some titles, you could share that for our audience. But part of the thinking now is, we're in the final phase of our conversation. What are you going to do when this is over? Maybe differently or better or not at all. Maybe there's some things you will not do when this is over. So share that.
I think
Frank, you're still going to be a baker?
Yeah. I love the business. As I get older, it's hard. It takes its toll. The seasonality adds to that challenge. So I'm using this sort of opportunity to make changes that I couldn't normally make at the store. For various reasons, I felt like I couldn't do them. Now it's like, it's coronavirus. This is it. We had to make these changes. This is the way it is. We're going to yell at me for it. We're moving on. So there's a freedom to that a little bit. So so the business might change in some ways. So I'm not sure, but I feel like there's changes coming from this process that will be beneficial. So silver lining and all that. And I think managing your anxiety, is obviously we've been talking about that, is so important. Because when you hear these crazy stories of people yelling at ice cream clerks and making them cry, they're anxious. I mean, no one normally is behaving this way. They're crazy. They're anxious. So, be kind to yourself and try to mitigate that so you're not putting it out there on these poor innocents in the world. But yeah,
So I'm hearing be kind to yourself now and be kind to others later.
Yeah. I mean, why add to we're all struggling in different ways. Why, if you're having a bad day, just go home. Take a Klonopin, relax, do yoga, do something. Don't go out there and torture people.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah, join Tinder.
Amy, how do you see your world differently after COVID and the library? Thoughts about how it might be different?
I'm not really sure. I mean, the only thing I can really come up with is that just saying yes to more things. And for me personally, just to kind of get over myself and get out of the way and just do things. And, who cares if you're almost 50 and your life's half over, just keep going and do it, I could see that this would be a really good time if somebody wanted to go live their life dream, but afterwards. But I'm still doing that, so it's not like there's like nothing. There is no next, Just I'm here. But I think just taking better care of things, to be more compassionate with other people, and getting out of my own way, and just participating more and being more open-hearted, I guess.
Yeah.
T, what do you see after this is all behind us?
Oh, Lord, how much time I got? So the business that I co-own with two partners, the Cordial Ag Gallery and Artist Space, our space is really small. So it's going to be hard for us to figure out how to social distance in that kind of area. So, branching out and finding like new ways to connect with the community, I think, are something we're going to have to learn. I'm looking forward to softball at some point when the world stops hating us. And what I appreciate so far, or what I'm looking forward to, is cooking with friends. I'm looking forward to somewhat normalcy. We're never going to get back to where we were. I don't believe so. I think that's just dead. We have to move forward with new plans and find new ways to connect with each other. And like Frank said, just be kind. Just be kind to each other. We're all going through something, Meet people with kindness, and most often they'll give you the same back.
Great, thank you. Chase, how do you see your life different, or the studio different, or what have you learned you want to take forward?
Yeah, I think I've always been like, what's point B, what's point B, what's point B, like A to B, and now I'm like, what about all these little moments in between? What if I went on a bike ride without needing to get to my destination? And what if I took these other routes and this, and that kind of using that to what if I just am? What if I don't plan and I could just be a little bit more in the moment? And as well as I've realized how much stuff I don't need now that everything's closed.
Right.
And just having more discernment, when am I going out to not go within all the time. And so being able to, I don't know, dance between that balance a little bit more. as far as yoga, it's been great being virtual. And I think before it's always like, oh yeah, like teach a lot of people, teach this. And now I think moving forward, I really want to just work in smaller groups, really work with individuals to help them get into their bodies and have more intimate settings and really, really find the yoga in that, opposed to trying to fill classes and things like that. So yeah, that's where I think I'm heading for this week.
Well, the smaller groups and the more intimacy and all of that, that's going to be imposed on us, I think.
Oh, yeah, yes.
I think the next 2 or 3 months, we're all going to have to figure out, and T, you were talking about your space and how you're going to have to configure that space differently. I'm sure, Amy, you guys are thinking about what's going to happen at the library. How's that going to work?
Right.
How are we going to get people in and out?
It's very interesting, rearranging furniture to make sure physical distancing can happen. But, the library is this awesome place where you meet with people and you check in and you see people and all that kind of stuff. But it's also like that alone together thing. It's part of people's daily routine. You go in there, you do your thing. You're doing it around other people, but you're not really with other people, and that's going to be hard to replicate and keep everybody safe at the same time. So, it'll happen when it happens, but, safety first.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly hear taking care of yourself and being kind to others. It's going to be important because when we get out of all of this, everyone's going to come out with sort of a renewed, I need to take care of myself and I need to be a little more independent. I need to be a little more flexible. And so we're going to see a little bit of attitude when this is all over.
I think it's going to take a while for people to, really get back into the stride of things. I want to see like the first committee, board, whatever meeting, and I would just want to see how people react to it, or how many people are, coming to meetings without pants on.
Right.
We have to learn to put pants on again. It's gonna be
not wearing
weird.
pants.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna take us a while to find our stride again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, a silver lining for me is like, how awesome is it that everyone has so much time to sort of confront themselves in a lot of ways and be with themselves. And so hopefully we take whatever we out of this and move forward with better step.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe in being kind to yourself, you say to that person that used to say things to you that you didn't like, but you never said anything about it. Now you say, that really offends me or that really bothers me. And why don't we figure out a better way to work together? So that's some of the kindness that I think will come out of this for sure. Any more thoughts about sort of what you think our community is going to look like? We are obviously a tourist community. We're going to have 2 months of trying to figure out who's in and who's out. What do you think Provincetown is going to look like over the next couple months? Best guess.
I don't know. My guess is that it gets full of day trippers, for sure, and a lot of people are utilizing the parks and things like that. I've noticed there's been like a few people out front like protesting, like completely shutting down the town for the summer. And it's like, for me, I'm like, shut it. I mean, we go from like not having any cases to inviting in the world. And so I could see that. But on the flip side, it's like you have business owners running businesses and things like that. So I don't know.
Well,
Balance.
The nuance between those two things, right? Shut it down and have it be a free-for-all. The world will never be 100% safe. So we have to figure out where our comfort level is with enough safety to feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
That's the challenge. And I think, people are upset sometimes that governments, I'm not talking federal, I'm talking local government, isn't giving us all the answers. Everyone's figuring it out together.
Right.
It's going to be this sort of rolling piecemeal thing for everyone, because it's not clear what the best answer is. And things may happen and then have to get pulled back, and you know, we're all going to just sort of flop through this together. And you know, I do think it'll be a quiet summer. How quiet? We don't know.
We don't know. Well, it sounds like we need to make room for the independent souls, the huggers, the non-huggers, those of us that are introverts and the extroverts. And so it sounds like all of that needs to be accommodated. And I think that's part of making room for everyone. Certainly, I come out of a world that diversity has been important. So being more inclusive, making sure that people feel comfortable when they are here, all of that seems like some of what I've heard today. We're getting to the end of our segment. Anything you want to share before we sign off? Websites, whatever.
Spread that love, man. And even though we can't hug each other, we can't touch each other, we can talk to each other. We can give each other inspiring words. We can lift each other up, you know, lift and pull. Spread that love.
Yeah.
Thanks, T.
Just piggybacking really quickly off of what Chase was saying, the woman who is protesting the town being shut down, we've chatted, we disagree, but someone berated her one day, and I thought, oh no, you know, don't add that to the world.
Yeah.
So, you know, like you say, spread the love. Like we aren't going to all agree, but we don't have to be uncivil.
I think one thing I would like to end with is, like, it's a quote. I'm not sure where it's from, but it hit home for me a few years ago. It's like, day by day nothing changes, but in a year from now everything has. So it's like, whatever your goal is, just like push through it today, and then tomorrow, and then a month from now, and then 2 months, and everything will shift. So
anything from you, Amy, before we wind up here?
I mean, it's so cliche, but we're really in it together, and we're better together. And I really believe that, despite how cheesy it sounds. So,
well, thank you, Amy, T, Frank, Chase, for joining us today, and we want to thank our audience for also participating. I expected some questions, and maybe we did get some questions, which we can get back to folks, but enjoy the rest of this beautiful day, and I guess the week is going to be beautiful, but thanks again, and remember that you said you were going to do all these great things when this is over. Don't let go of them. Hold on to them.
That's right.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Bye.